Haley is an American novelist and college professor who brings strong historical women to life in the novels she writes. Haley will facilitate a 2-part writing seminar. Welcome to Day 2 of the 14 Commandments of Writing.
For those of you who weren't here yesterday, this is a standalone session on creative writing. I'm Haley Garwood, and I had some little postcards and little bookmarks going around. I write the Warrior Queen series about real women warriors who have been left out of history thanks to people who thought they were too violent to even be noticed. And I have 4 books. I went out of the series to work on 2 other books. One's on the women priestess of King Tut who worked hard to save his life. She managed for about 10 years. That one is almost finished. And then another one I wrote was a modern one, clash of cultures between an Indian man who is Hindu and a woman who was Christian, and how they fought each other over their own religions. That one was my statement about, you know, if you love them, just don't worry about it, you know, kind of thing. And that one just went off. We'll see how that one does. The other one I'm working on out of this this is my British series. These 3 take place in Britain in different centuries. This is the beginning of what we call the Oriental series, and that's the old-fashioned term for Oriental, meaning anything that wasn't European. This one takes place in Syria. The next one I started takes place in India, ancient India, about Rani of Jhansi, who fought the British to keep them from taking over her country because they said, oh, you can't do it, you're a woman. Right. Well, they ended up shooting her in the back. That's the only way they could get her to stop. And so my heritage is British, but, well, actually Celtic. So I don't know. It's hard to write about.
Didn't like the Celtic.
No, they didn't. We didn't like them either. So at any rate, this program, we're going to try this. This is on the 6 functions of dialogue. And I have a master's in theater. Playwriting was my emphasis. And so if you ever have a chance to take a playwriting class, you will learn a tremendous amount about dialogue and how to develop character through it. Come on up, you can sit here. Sure. There's no problem. We just move all the goodies. And if I can get this cranked up, I started to print this out and I ran out of some color. What's cyan? Sienna. I ran out of that, and so nothing printed. It's a red? Oh, well, whatever. It didn't print right.
You should have selected print in black only.
Yeah. Well, I could have, but it would look, it's ugly.
This is something that only looks pretty in color.
I want it only printed in color. Normally I have a projector, but if I travel with my own projector, if I break the bulb, it costs me $300 to replace it. Yeah, that's what I said. I said, we'll have a small class, we'll do this. Okay, where did it go? Recent documents. It's not there. We'll try again. I lose things all the time on this computer. It's too much computer for me. It's smarter than I am. What do you think the functions of dialogue is? What do you think dialogue should do for you?
Move the story forward.
Do what?
Move the story forward.
Exactly. Move the story forward. If your dialogue doesn't move the story forward, then you have to look at your dialogue and see why. What's the problem? Dialogue can also be too long. I call this I was teaching this at the college level, so I had to have a reason to give the kids a test. So not really, but oh dear, if I don't push the right button, how am I going to do this upside down? Here we go. It says a constant throughout literary history. Okay? That sounds a little dull. But can you read the functions?
Yes.
Can you see them? Read the top one out loud for me.
Advances plot line.
Okay, what did you say? Exactly. Okay, these are not in any particular order. Can you see this all right, or should I read it to you?
I can see it, but I couldn't see it.
Oh, you want me to read it to you? I can read it to you. I will read it to you. It'll be easier for me anyway. First of all, the functions. Now, there are other things you can add to this, I'm sure, but these are the ones that I came across when I was working on something in theater. It also sets the mood for a scene. You can use dialogue to set your mood for any scene. You know, if you start listening, what you need to do is whenever you're in a crowd, listen to people talk. You will know, even if you don't know what they're saying, you will know by the tone of their voices what's going on. Someone who is talking about a tragedy will speak in a totally different type of voice than someone who's excited about something that's happened to them. So it's hard to do that on paper, but you can do it with the use of words. Also, as long as I'm talking about words, different ethnic groups who speak English pick up certain words in our language that other ethnic groups don't. Also, class, upper class speaks differently than the lower classes. And this is one of the problems in school, is when we get kids into kindergarten and first grade, the kids who are coming from homes where the people are educated, not necessarily wealthy, but educated, not necessarily formally educated, but well-read, have a huge vocabulary, and the other children don't. And now they're worried about brain functions. Children who have a huge vocabulary have apparently more brain pathways working. They're still working on that part. That's a scary thing. And setting the mood for the scene, again, the mood is if you want it to be tense, if you want it to be fast, then you have to deal with the rhythm and the words. When you're watching a movie sometime, listen to the dialogue, especially on something like, what are the ones I like that have, all I can remember is Raiders of the Lost Ark. When you're in a scene where the action is very, very fast and the mood is set and it's supposed to be, the mood is to be excitement, your dialogue is short and choppy. One of the things that, what's the guy's name in the Raiders of the Lost Ark? What's the character's name? Indiana Jones. How can I forget that? I can. It's easy. In Indiana Jones, he drops down into a pit, and he looks, and it's full of snakes. When he turns on the light, it's full of snakes. And he says, "Snakes. I hate snakes." He doesn't say, "Oh my goodness, I hate snakes. Isn't that a pity?" See? He says, "Snakes. I hate snakes." Right to it. That helps set your mood. Your mood can be done, a lot of times they do it with music, but you don't have music when you're reading, usually. So you have to set your mood for someone else. The cheap way to set a mood is weather. Yeah. Remember Snoopy? It was a dark and stormy night. Okay, that's the cheap way to do it. I think you can do it if you don't get trite about it. If you don't say it's a dark and stormy night. If you just, that's telling us. Show us. Give us the thunder, give us the rain, give us, the window blowing open or the branches scratching on the pane. Try to make it different. But you can also have something horrible. You can have it might be an interesting contrast to have a beautiful, bright, sunny day and someone be murdered. Or you set your mood that's dark in contrast to the sunny day. How else can you set a mood? If you're trying to do it on paper.
You're describing the characters.
What are they doing?
How they're saying it and what they're doing.
And what they're doing. You know immediately if someone is nervous, you can show that by different ways. What do you do when you're nervous?
Bite my nails. Or
Bite your nails, okay. What do you do if you ever get nervous?
I shake my leg.
Shake your leg, tap your foot, something like that. How about you?
I agitate, wiggle, move things.
Okay. And you?
Darting eyes.
What?
I'm just thinking your eyes might dart.
Sure. Looking around.
You know.
What do you do? You get very still. You're going to hide in the bushes and be that little rabbit that's not going to be noticed, right? Okay, fine. Good. How about you?
I probably get antsy.
Okay.
Can't sit still.
You can't sit still. Time goes so slowly. You keep checking your
Checking my phone.
every 2 minutes. Yeah. Well, I used to be a watch. I don't know what we check now. Okay. Well, I wore mine, but I was never using it, and it's so old that it finally kind of, I have to take it to the jeweler to get fixed, and then I want to wear it again. And what do you do?
Fidget, pick at my nails.
Okay. And what do you do?
I get antsy.
You get antsy? Okay. I get mean and I swear when I'm nervous. I swear. And I stomp around and load my gun. Both of them. Anyway, you set the mood for your scene, because that's what dialogue does. You can tell when someone says, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you," but how do you convey the difference between "I'm glad to see you" and "I'm really glad to see you"? Because you don't know the difference between "I'm really glad to see you" and "I'm really glad to see you." You can't. It's hard to show sarcasm. So you have to do something with action. That's hard. So you have to think, this is where you start observing people. You know, don't make them nervous, or what'd you just do and why? Don't do that. But a lot of times you see in books, you'll see she put her hands on her hips and sighed. What are you doing here? Things like that. Be careful of the trite. Try to make it interesting. And don't worry about it when you're whipping through first draft. First draft is exactly that. First draft, you write as much as you can, as fast as you can. You get the story down. Then you go back later and you tear it up. And when you tear it up, first time you go through it, you might want to check for grammar. If that drives you crazy, have somebody else do it. The second time you go through, you might check it for tightness, what we call tight writing. You don't want, honest to God, if you can, one of the exercises I do when I teach creative writing is have the students cut 10%. I have them write 200 words and then I make them cut 10%. And if you can do that without going into shock, because every word is not really necessary, then try it. After, that's another editing thing. You write and you edit separately. Your creative side is the right side of the brain, I think. Is that the right side? I think it's the right side. And the editing side is the left side of the brain, and never the twain shall meet.
Oh, that's a good point.
Never. You don't edit and write at the same time. You cannot. Because what you're doing is jumping from one brain to another, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you don't know how to spell a word, don't worry about it. Somebody else will know how to spell it. Sometimes my spelling is so bad that I can't figure out what I've written, but that's okay. I'll figure it out eventually. So you must write and get everything down. Don't worry about the order. Don't worry about anything. Get it down. You'll get stuck in the middle. If you get stuck in the middle, go write the last chapter and then come back. All kinds of tricks you can use. If you get stuck in the middle, go back and start editing the first part of the book, and then, or whatever you're working on, and then something will come to you, because your brain sits back there and cooks all the time. It sits there and just works. So now the functions of dialogue are: number 1, advance the plot line; number 2, set the mood for a scene. I'm giving you all this extra stuff in between. Number 3, it provides information. We need to know if we're in 1865 or not. Now, in the King Tut novel that I'm working on, it's so difficult to explain to the reader that we're in a certain period, because their fall is nothing like North American fall. Their winters are totally different. So I went back to the ancient Egyptian calendar, which was very, very hard to research. I finally ended up at the Smithsonian with someone there helping me. And at the beginning of every chapter, I tell you the year, the place, and the season. Egypt's interesting. They have Their weeks are 10 days long and their months are 30 days long. And then they throw in 5 extra days at a festival time at the end of their calendar year just to catch up.
I like that.
It's kind of cool. I think 10-day weeks are good if you'd have 4-day weekends. So you want to provide information, but you don't want to do what we call an information dump, which is you want to give people information about what? What might you want to give people information about? If you're doing dialogue, what's the number one thing you want to let people know?
The
What?
characters.
About people.
Yeah, you want to let them know who's talking, what mood they're in. See, we've already talked about that. You want to know what their problem is, if you can get it out to them right then. What is the conflict? Every scene you write needs to have conflict. It doesn't need to be major conflict, but it needs to be conflict. It can be internal conflict, which is, you all have internal conflict. And you have external conflict, where things are trying to control you outside of yourself. I call it my alarm clock. That's my external conflict. And I don't like to get up in the morning when that alarm clock rings. So you want to provide information. This is the other thing for dialogue. Kind of an attitude that your character has, maybe where your character fits in the hierarchy of society, whether they're servants or queens or noblemen or peasants, or I don't know how you hierarchy people in the fairy world or the but you know, in the fantasy world you can have a hierarchy. You can do it. People do it all the time. Authors do it all the time. In fantasy, they'll give you'll know from either a title that's made up or a uniform that someone's wearing, or the mere fact that someone orders a group of people around. You know what the hierarchy is. Your dialogue needs to involve the reader. It needs to keep the reader, it needs to be so interesting that it keeps the reader reading. And that's when after your first draft or your second, you go back and you tighten up your manuscript and you cut out all the garbage that you don't need.
Is it number 4?
Yes. Okay, that's involving the reader is important, because if you can't involve your reader, then you don't have a book. And those of you who are just a piece of advice, those of you who are writing and getting ready to submit to publishers for the first time, look at the market. And this is just has nothing to do with dialogue or functions of dialogue. It has to do with reality. Find yourself a small press or a medium press. Don't bother with New York. And match your stuff to what they like to sell. Okay? For instance, Pagan, there's Kurlak Publishing. I know there are others, I just can't think offhand.
Does Llewellyn print?
What?
Does Llewellyn
Yes,
print?
yes,
Print
yes,
your
that's
books?
another one.
I mean,
Yeah.
I knew they print. Or
Llewellyn. Llewellyn. Yeah.
Llewellyn, if you're doing
But-
Welsh, but
Like,
Llewellyn or something like that. It's like sh in the front.
yeah,
Those double L's.
in the double
My husband
L's.
speaks Welsh. He's always telling me the wrong way,
Oh,
the right way.
I've seen it.
well,
Yeah, I know they do.
my family's Welsh, so
Yes.
my grandfather used to confuse me because I could never understand him because he was speaking Welsh.
Yes.
And it was a long time before I realized
But yeah, I knew
checkers
they
and
had
drafts
printed-
were the
I
same
knew they printed
thing.
informative books, but I didn't know if they printed fiction.
Well, that's where you have to do your search. You just have to go into Google. Google's a wonderful thing. I used to have to do it by going to the library.
Aren't a lot of people
Yeah.
doing self-publishing though on Amazon right now?
If you are, then the one book that you need is the Bible of the whole self-publishing industry is the Guide to Self-Publishing. Do not try to self-publish without reading that book. It will tell you everything you need to know, and it's by Marilyn Ross. She happens to be a good friend of mine, but that's not the reason I'm publicizing her book. I do workshops for her sometimes. But you must know what the publishing industry is all about, because it's wicked out there. It really is wicked. We'll see how, you won't get an agent until you're published.
Oh yeah, I know.
I know, but that's what's sad. You need one.
You want to get published.
That I've kind of looked into that are willing to
take a risk if they have someone vouch for you or
Okay,
something weird?
here's another thing. Do not ever pay an agent or anyone until they do something for you and you have a contract, and then they have in the contract they get an X number.
What about the contests and stuff? Like I get
Contest is, I judge contests. Contests are just fascinating to judge because you see talent out there. If I fall on my face, it's this bench. Just pick me up and pick the little keys on my forehead and put them back on the computer. I love judging contests because you see absolutely wonderful people out there. And so then if they win the contest or even come in second or third, they can use that to propel themselves. If they don't win, and it's a great way to find out what is wrong with your writing and how to correct it. And I judge Romance Writers of America contest. I didn't do it this year because I was teaching and didn't have time. And I judge another one. I can't remember what it is. It's terrible. They'll contact me sometime in December and say, "Are you judging again?" Oh yeah. But entering any contest, you have to be careful of the contest you enter. Make sure it's legitimate.
Have you heard of Hope Clark?
No, but check into if you get Writer's Digest, I'm sorry,
She's
Writer's
a
Digest.
writer that has a newsletter, and she sends out an email newsletter that has contests and workshops.
Oh, good.
And stuff in
That's a
it
great idea.
for writers to enter or go to.
Good.
That she suggests.
And they will, and that's okay. And they will charge you.
Yeah, a lot of them.
The judges don't charge. We do it. It's usually a way of making money for a chapter, for a writer's chapter, to keep the chapter going. And we usually judge for nothing.
But she'll also put in her newsletter sometimes magazines that are taking submissions.
Good.
But her
And
name's Hope Clark.
I probably know who you mean, but I can't
She's
think
got
of it.
like a short little website.
Yeah.
I think she's also got like you can subscribe to her bigger newsletter where you can actually get more information. But she's got a smaller newsletter that she sends out for free.
I don't know how on earth anyone has time to do all that, but that's okay. So anyway,
That's why you have to pay for the bigger one.
probably why, yeah. So anytime your dialogue, you want your dialogue to involve the reader. Now, you know certain genres that's easier to do, like mysteries. Boy, you can involve the reader instantly. All you have to do is use one of several words: murder, bloody. Arm with no body attached, all those good funny things. It's a little more difficult in some areas to involve the reader, but it can be done. It's when your story is tight and the pacing is fast. Now you have different pacing. You'll have your dialogue makes your story run quicker, and then when you get to your description, you slow down a little bit. If you go too much dialogue for too long, your reader is literally out of breath by the time they get to the bottom. You don't want to do that to them because they'll put the book down and go, ah. So, and the reason you have dialogue is to, besides advancing the plot line and setting the mood and providing information, you're involving the reader. Another thing the dialogue does, and this is not in any particular order, it develops a character. All your characters are developed. We've talked about how you talk differently. You talk differently to different people, by the way. You might speak differently to a child. Obviously, we do, although sometimes you shouldn't. They say don't use baby talk, and I believe that. But you're trying to develop your character and show where the character's from, what their status is in society, sort of, with the dialogue. And there's nothing better than to use dialogue to show conflict. You can really show conflict with dialogue because this usually involves two or more characters and they're usually having a fight. That's conflict. Can you think of a conflict between two characters that you know about in life, just from experience? Two characters. Anybody?
A parent and a child.
Parent and the child arguing over whether or not the child can watch TV, perhaps.
How late they stay out, where they go, what they do.
Teenagers, conflict. 13 to 16, I wanted to kill all my kids. The ones between 13 and 16, I really wanted to kill them. I wasn't allowed to, but I really wanted to. Yeah, you have conflict between parents and children. You have conflict between husband and wife. You have conflict between boyfriend and girlfriend. You have conflict between the detective and the one who's trying to murder her. Okay, you have that kind of conflict. So that's a fun thing. Now, there's no particular order for these. This is just how I work it. I'll show you conflict. I have some conflict. This is called, the whole thing is a journey through the ages, ancient cries to modern voices. I start with the Egyptians. I happen to like the Egyptians. I used to read hieroglyphs much quicker than I do now. I haven't read hieroglyphs for a while. But this is a poem that is like 4,000 years old, which I think is just absolutely fabulous. It says, last night, it made 7, my eyes missed my kitten. I'm a tottering outpost invaded by sickness. Love lethargy leaves my limbs loggy. I stagger about with a low-grade fever. Sometimes I drift into reverie. Sometimes I don't even remember my name. Why, that girl's better than any prescription, more to me than the pharmacopoeia. My own secret, Hathor's a god, home remedy. Her slipping into my room from the road. Have her examine me, then watch my energy. And just let her look me full in the eyes. Every bit of my body is back in its prime. At the sound of her voice, my heart leaps to her tune. And then when I kiss her, feel her length breast to thigh. Love's evil spirits fly clean from my system. God, what a girl, what a woman. And that bitch has been gone for a week. It is really funny. Isn't that funny? So this is the other thing. Somebody said to me one time, how can you write about all that old stuff? How do you know what these people went through? How do you know what they're thinking, what they're feeling? And I said, human nature has not changed. It has not changed forever. I'm sure Lucy, Lucy, the little 32, 36-inch person they found 100 years, I don't know when they found her, several years ago. They found more since. I'm sure Lucy had the same feelings we did about children, about fear. All the feelings we have are still there. And I thought that was funny. He was just so enamored with his kitten who's been gone for a week, but oh, that bitch.
Sounds like he's talking about a woman and a cat.
Yeah, oh, he is. He's talking about his girlfriend who went away. He just called her his little kitten.
Oh.
See, it was a love term. And that bitch has been gone for a week. So anyway, with dialogue. It's an Egyptian poem. It's in hieroglyphs. It was translated. I can't read the original anymore in the hieroglyphs because I can't read hieroglyphs that well.
There's really a hieroglyph for bitch.
Yeah, she is. She's really 4,000 years ago. This poem was written.
Wonder what the word was. They did say bitch though.
Well, they have the term for bitch. Translation. It meant whore, actually. That whore's been gone for a week. Yeah, he's missing her. She did all this for him, and then she has been gone for a week. I'm desperate. So human nature has not really changed all that much. I think it's interesting when you read something that Jane Auel has written. A-U-E-L. What's her name? Whatever. Jane Auel. She writes Clan of the Cave Bear, Plains of Passage. She has a new one that just came out. But her people are human. I mean, they have the same fears and doubts that we do. It's not that far from, we're not that far away. So in dialogue, you can use dialogue for your pacing. You use it to develop your character. You use it to set mood. You use it for many, many reasons. Do you have any questions about how to use that dialogue?
pacing, what do you mean?
Pacing means the rhythm at which the person's reading. If you sit down to read a full-length play and it's all dialogue, which is what plays are, you will be tired because it's chop, 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 chop. So in a novel, what you want to do is you want to use the dialogue to do all these functions that I just gave you, but also to break up these paragraphs. So you have some, yeah, you have description, you have action paragraphs, and then you have dialogue. My dialogue, this is a dialogue page. My dialogue is a little more complex. I was using a lot of it to try to develop character and impart information so that I wouldn't have a book that thick. This one, I'm trying to think. This one's about the same way. I still have dialogue, but I have here's one where you have quite a bit of white space. You know, it's choppy. You've changed the rhythm here. If you're doing a battle scene, besides description, if you're doing a true battle scene, you can't talk, but you can talk before and after it. And depending on how you speak, usually people are pretty nervous before a battle. They're real short, choppy sentences. Do you want to try some dialogue and see where you can go with it? Go ahead. Write 6 lines, 6 to 10 lines of dialogue. 2 people. Try 2 people. Don't try 3. 3 is too hard. Okay. Who wants to read, and then the rest of us will try to tell what you were writing, like what you were going for. Who wants to read first? Nobody? Pick a number between 1 and 7. Got your number yet? What's your number?
7.
What's your number?
6.
What's your number?
2.
Okay. Who has number 5? You get to go first. Okay, you read it, and then we're going to try to fill in the functions for you.
Okay. I may have done this wrong then. A frown crept across Eileen's face. I don't think it worked. Why not? Asked Roger. Eileen inspected the oven with a disappointed look. It never rised. What did you do wrong? Roger asked. What do you mean what I do? What do you mean by them? Eileen asked while she crossed her arms. I'm just saying that you were the one who put it in the oven, Roger said. Red-faced, Eileen replied, I'm not the one who forgot to turn on the stove.
Okay, so what's he going for?
A fight.
Conflict, very good. He's showing conflict. He's also showing a character, too. What kind of person do you think she is? What is the name? Her name? Elaine? What kind of person is Elaine?
Quick to blame other people.
She's
quick to blame her.
okay. Quick to blame other people. What happened in this scene? What happened with what was put in the oven? A cake. Some kind of cake.
Yeah.
Cake or bread, and it didn't cook. It didn't rise. Okay. So, what's the final tagline there? What's the final line? The final line of dialogue is what?
She should have turned on the stove.
I'm not the one who forgot to turn on the stove. Don't blame me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have character there. You also have that other person's character. Okay.
Blame her.
Yeah, I'm not the one that forgot to turn on the stove, puts it right back to him. Okay, who wants to go next? 3. Who's number 3? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll go.
Okay, you go.
Susan, stop that writing and listen to me. I am listening. Don't you know I can do 2 things at once? Cherry Ball. Listen actively. I can't tell that you're listening. Susan sighed, threw down her pen, and glared at Cherry. Why can't you just leave me to my own devices? Don't you understand that after every word you said while drawing this picture?
Okay. Yeah, okay. You showed conflict. What was the very first piece of dialogue, and who was saying it?
I didn't really say who it was yet. This is Susan stopped that writing. It's Sherry.
Okay, so but the first thing is stop that writing and listen to me. Right away, that's conflict, okay? Mood. Can anybody figure out maybe mood? Is there mood in there? What kind of mood would it be? Could be frustration, probably. Information. We have some information. Well, no, because it takes time. You know, you're going to build it. You just did it in a few sentences. There is a little bit of information there. We know it's probably modern. Was it modern?
Yeah. I think I was relaying whenever I was writing it.
Okay, the reason I say that is she threw down a pen, not a quill.
Yeah, right.
Okay? And she didn't quit typing, so she wasn't on a computer. Maybe. Oh, she's drawing. Okay. Okay.
She's saying she heard.
So she's doing ink and pen drawing. Okay.
And Susan and Sherry didn't know she could draw. She said, "Stop that writing and listen to me." She wanted to get her attention.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got mood, conflict. You've involved the reader because now the reader wants to know what's the big deal about her not listening, you know? Let's see. Developing character. Yeah, you just barely started developing character. One of them, what does the young lady do with a pen?
The one that she threw it down.
Yeah, she throws it down. She doesn't lay it down. This is where your words are very important. There's a difference between laying it down and throwing it down and whatever else you could do with a pen. Stick it behind your ear, whatever, I don't know. But yeah, so through the action you're showing some kind of temper. Okay. Who wants to go next? Okay, you go. It's all right.
Where should I set up? A breathless female voice asked from behind a pair of stacked boxes wearing jeans. Over there, you're with that nonprofit, right? He said, not really sparing a glance. Yes, do you think you could help? I think I'm going to drop these. He sighed impatiently and looked up from his chair. I guess, he grunted as he got up. She tipped the top box towards him, and he quickly had to move to catch it. He stared silently at the pretty red head that stared at him with a frown. Thanks, she said flatly.
Okay, whose head are we in?
No one's.
No one's? Okay. He stared at her?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in his head briefly then. So whose scene is it going to be? I know, I just asked you to write dialogue, but whose scene do you think who would make, which person in that dialogue would you like to most to know about for you as a writer? Which one would you like to write? From whose point of view do you want to be in?
I haven't really thought about it. I was kind of writing in third person.
Okay. But still, even in third person, we're in somebody, we emphasize somebody. It's okay, I put you on the spot, and that's not fair, but did we have conflict?
Yes.
Okay. Is it modern? Probably. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily.
Non-profit.
You could have the old oval hat boxes, but then we'd set it up. You
But
know.
using that term non-profit.
Non-profit is a very modern term. Good. Wearing jeans. There you go. See that way you can just with a few words. With a few words, you can ground your reader into where you are and what you're doing. If you're doing Victorian, you would have to do something else. It would be like the hat boxes, for example. Long skirts, depending on which Victorian era you were in. Hobble skirts were like 1890s. You'd have to set that up. It's harder to do that.
Do you like the boxes wearing jeans?
Yeah, it did sound. When you read it aloud, it's scary what you find out, isn't it?
Yeah.
The boxes were wearing jeans. I know. I caught that, but I didn't.
Well, but they repeated it. Now it's just like,
Yeah, and that's
how I imagined it because
sure. But the thing is, when you read it aloud, you pick up your own errors, and that's a good thing to do. And you can only read aloud for about 5 minutes before you slip into that mode where you don't know what you're reading. So you can do 5 minutes reading aloud, especially dialogue. You do need to read your dialogue aloud. That really helps. I have somebody read my dialogue to me while I take notes. And while I'm taking notes, if I have to say who said that, I have a problem. Okay, so that's how you do it. Okay, that's pretty good. You've got some character development. You have conflict, and you have 6 functions of dialogue. You don't have to do them all at once. It's like anything. You can't do everything at once, but you get it in there somehow, somewhere, sometime. Okay, maybe you never will get a mood in there through dialogue, but you might get mood in through description. Okay, who wants to go next? Have you gone?
Not yet.
Why don't you go?
How did you get here? I came by riverboat and then overland with a wagon train heading for the coast. Aren't you happy to see me? It's not that. I just can't believe you're here. Why did you come? Why, she asked. Why? I guess I should have stayed where I was, but I needed to know you were still alive.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Now, first of all, you grounded us in time period, which is, you did us probably 1800s America.
That's what I was thinking, the
West
expansion.
The West expansion out of St. Louis and
Actually,
beyond.
that could almost be now, too, because there are some areas that you can only...
Wagon train?
Oh, wagon train, sorry.
Yeah, wagon train.
It didn't register, never mind.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis is the gateway to the West, and and so we have. I think there was a distinctive male voice there. Why are you here? So we have the conflict, and we have the little bit of anger. She's a little put out. What did she expect? What do you think she expected from the dialogue? What did she expect? What?
Welcoming.
A welcoming. She expected to be welcomed, and what did she get? Why are you here?
Why did you come?
Why did you come? Okay. So you've got the conflict, you have the attitude. We know this is the beginning of something that they're going to fight all the way through, probably over everything. Okay, that's cool. Who else? How about you?
Oh, mine's so boring.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, yes, it is. She walked into the pavilion and over to a woman signing books. Oh, I like that cover. Did you do it? No. Did you do the artwork? She said. No. She said, I have a friend who does my covers. She seems to be able to pick up the mood of the book. Do you draw? Well, I have. I've done some children's illustrations, but not this good. The other woman smiled, and they both went on about their business.
Okay. No, it's not. Go back now. What's your first character is sitting there signing books, and they start talking about art. What's that tell you about the person who walked up to the table?
She's interested in art.
She's interested in art. What does it tell you about her own attitude towards her own art?
She's not thinking.
She doesn't think she's very good. She might be excellent. She has a chance to illustrate. She's done children's illustrations. Oh my word, that's fascinating. And yet she doesn't think that's a decent thing. That's just wonderful. So you've got all kinds of stuff there. Now you have a character who doesn't believe in herself. You can do a whole novel. That's going to affect everything she does in her life if she doesn't believe in herself. So now you have a goal. What do you do with that character to help her learn to believe in herself? See, that's your plot thing. So we have all kinds of information. All kinds. You've already involved the reader. You're working on developing your character, and anytime a character can grow and change is a good thing. Okay? Oh, what kind of conflict do you have there? External or internal? Internal. See? Very powerful. We've all gone through that. Okay, who wants to go next? Would you like to go next? Oh, come on.
Listen, dumbass, I'm not telling you again. Stop talking shit about the fairies in my circle. The high priestess said, I can't even read my handwriting.
That's all right, you're alone.
Said, frowning as she stood with the fairy offering in her hand. I'm not talking shit, they're starting shit, he huffed, as he reached for the used candles.
Excuse me.
She said, her. her throat tightened. Fairies are spoiled brats and a pain in my ass, he said with a grimace and an attitude.
That's all right.
Okay.
Keep going. That's okay.
She gave up stepping out of the space, keeping her distance from him. We grabbed up the leftover meat and took a step outside the circle, and with a swish landing, he his bare foot into a fresh steaming pile. Told you, she smiled knowingly and chuckled to herself.
Okay. Now, what do we have here?
External conflict.
External conflict for her, for them. You have, you've grounded us. We know it's a fantasy. Okay. You have plot development up to a point. I mean, we've got a plot start. I mean, when you sit down and you write dialogue out of the middle of nowhere, it's hard to see where you're going. But yeah, you've got a fantasy with plot conflict. What else? I have to look. Oh, we set the mood. Did she set the mood? Okay. Boy, shit's one of those words you can't misspell very well. I mean, you have to spell it just one way, isn't it?
You can't,
Yeah.
You can't really change shit for poop. I was trying to
No.
figure out a better word. I was like, no, when you're angry.
Can't change it. And so that's a good word to use. It's I assume it's a fantasy, but I assume it's a modern, I mean, obviously modern fantasy because we've got that shit in there instead of poo-poo or whatever they used to say.
Unless you're a nun.
Unless you're what? A nun?
They're not going to sit around and say shit all day.
No, they aren't. They might think it, but then they go pray about it. Please forgive me.
The
I thought
language
about
itself gives you an idea of the character. 'Cause
Yeah.
They would just,
Exactly. And also how the character is a little bit, just a tad, just a little bit vindictive. Just a tad. Oh, you stepped in the deep doo-doo. Good. Oh, if it's cow doo-doo, it's really bad. It's green.
Pushing him into that like it was setting the fairies.
Yeah.
Then I can go all the way with the fairies. I'm just saying.
And it's interesting how you can use vocabulary to give a certain, you can do all kinds of things with vocabulary. You know what's the little doohickey at the top of the screen when you go and you click on it? Thesaurus. I love the thesaurus.
oh yeah.
I love it, love it, love it. But then sometimes I have to use a regular dictionary to look up what the thesaurus says, make sure I've used it properly. I have the big old dictionary that weighs 400 pounds, you flip it open. The Oxford or the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary. I love that thing.
A bridge.
And the pages are so thin, they have to be really careful, and I have to use them. I finally had to give my older OED away because I couldn't read it anymore, even with a magnifying glass came with it. So now I have to get the 800. Yeah.
I know, that's what I was just thinking.
It does. It's like 2 volumes, and it comes with a little thing that slides out with a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And the pages are like onions.
Now my next big purchase is the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary,
The
on
volumes.
on disc CD. Yeah. But anyway, I like to look it up because sometimes the thesaurus doesn't quite get to what I want.
Sometimes it's just slightly off.
And there's another thing that the Oxford English Dictionary does is if I use a word in here and I look it up and that word has not existed in 10th century England, then I have to find another word. Now I'm not real picky about that, but I am picky about words like that are like sword. I can think sword and what did they call a bed and what was the stone called, and you want to make sure you don't use something that just didn't exist at that point. For example, a Claiborne sword did not exist in the 10th century. See? Well, I said, like, for instance, a Claiborne sword did not exist in the 10th century. It's checking artifacts, basically, what I'm doing. But there are some words that weren't in existence, and some names were not in existence. Jessica is a name that was not in existence until the 1850s or so. It was in, I forget who invented it, one famous author. Oh, you just look up baby names in the dictionary. You look up.
It'll give you the names.
Sometimes.
Origin.
Websites.
Names, I think, the site. my characters come from different time periods,
Mhm.
and they give you like the history of the name, the meaning
Yeah,
of the name,
and the
spelling of the name.
and the origin, like
if it came
whether it's French
made up by
or
And that's very important because you don't want to give
well,
a Native
yeah.
American a French name. And you're
No.
just like,
Unless
oh,
it was trappers or, anyway.
Oh, I'm doing the Egyptian novel. I have to look up all my names. I have some, of course, Tutankhamun, Akhenaten, and all that. But I had to look up the priestess's name. And I had to really do research on that to find a name for a priestess.
So some names are commoner names.
What?
Some names are like commoner names rather than the upper class names.
Yeah.
Or,
as simple
Yes.
as if they added like 2 letters on the back of the name is where your social class was.
Yes, right. It's interesting. Yeah, you
I'm
can.
about names.
Yeah, I am too, and I didn't realize that until it was too late for the first book. But I had I'd done all history anyway, so I was using real people's names. And the other thing you have to be careful about is Shirley was a man's name for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you use it as a man's name now, even though if you're doing a period piece and you use the Shirley for a man's name, it throws your readers off. So you can't do that. Carol was also a man's name.
Like a boy named Sue.
Yeah, a boy named Sue. Yeah, it's just right, and it became feminine for some reason. Okay, let me check our time. Oh, we haven't finished with everybody. Oh, we're okay. We've got 17 minutes. All right. Did you?
I did. I only mostly wrote dialogue. I didn't write any.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
What did Sally have to say? Asked Jane. That she didn't mean to cause you any problems. She was trying to help. I can't believe her. You know she's lying. I'm just a messenger. Don't take your anger out on me, Harold said. You're supposed to be on my side. You know how manipulative she is. I'm not taking sides on this. It's between you and Sally.
Okay, what you have done is what has been done for a long time, through the ages. You have developed a character through dialogue, but it's not the character that's doing the dialogue. You're talking about another person. And here's an example from Strindberg, a play that he wrote called Miss Julie. He is having the maid talk about Miss Julie, which is what you basically did. And he said, Miss Julie's too high and mighty in some respects and not enough in others, just like her mother before her. The Countess was more at home in the kitchen and cowsheds than anywhere else. But would she ever go driving with only one horse? Meaning she had to have a pair. Okay, so we're learning about through another character through your dialogue, which is good. That's fine. And we're also learning about that character because the one says, you know how she is, she's always lying, or something. What was it?
You know how manipulative she is.
Manipulative. Now we know something about that person. But we also know something about the person saying it. Go back and read the first parts. Read it again.
What did Sally have to say? Asked Jane. That she didn't mean to cause you any problems. She was trying to help. I can't believe her. You know she's lying. I'm just a messenger. Don't take your anger out on me, Harold said. You're supposed to be on my side. You know how manipulative she is. I'm not taking sides on this. It's between you and Sally.
Okay, so you've got your conflict. But your conflict goes two ways there. It goes between the speaker and between the two people on the dialogue. That's one conflict. But you also have conflict between the one speaker and the person who's lying. So that's an interesting start. Because you've told us right away. We know something's going to happen. You've got us going. You've got the reader.
Complex or several. There's several characters, not just the one that's speaking, but it's also several conflicts.
Yeah. You have conflict between those two people and conflict between that person and the other one. Okay. Would you like to join? Okay, good.
Mommy, can I go outside? Kendra asked. No, you need to stay inside, said her mom. She began to argue. But Mom, her mother said, it is cold and raining, so you need to stay in. Kendra began to cry. But Mommy, I need to go outside. You don't need to do anything. But, go play in the living room and play with your toys or watch Dora.
Dora's a great thing. Okay, so now you have generational conflict. Mother and daughter conflict, okay? You also have a feeling that perhaps the kid is not going to listen to the mom, might go outside anyway. Now, depending on what kind of story you're writing, if you're writing like a murder mystery or a tale about a missing child, which can get very dramatic, you've set us up for that. You foreshadowed that. Okay? It can be very foreboding. Why is she not allowed outside? The weather. Who knows more about the weather than a mother? Nobody. And so you have the little girl's conflict and the mother's conflict. But how many times I don't know, you haven't been a mother, I suppose, but how many times have you told a child not to do something, whether you're babysitting with somebody else's kid or something, and you think they're going to listen to you, and sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And how many mothers have ever blamed themselves for their children disappearing and not coming back? See, that's a mother's nightmare. Can you imagine? We used to have locks on our doors way up high so the kids couldn't get outside, and we'd unlock them at night after they were in bed so if we had a fire they could get out. And you could always tell the kids were trying to get out because they dragged the stool across the floor and you could hear them. That was the clue.
Mine used a stereo speaker and unlocked the door.
How?
Just hold it over there.
Oh my gosh, it was tall enough.
And of course I was changing her brother at the time.
Oh, naturally.
So.
Oh. How far did she get?
Into a neighbor's house, and I couldn't find her for like 15, 20 minutes. Had a neighbor helping me find her.
That is the most horrible thing a mother can go through. Horrible. Okay, so you've got an idea now what you can do with dialogue. The next big question is, when do you do dialogue? And that I can't answer you. You just have to work it in. It's different for different stories. It's different for different people. It's different however you do it. Let me see how much time we have left. We have 12 minutes. Do you have any questions? Who gave me papers yesterday? Okay, one of you I lost. I didn't lose it. I left it back in the hotel on the desk. But all four of you stay and we'll go over it. But before, we still have 12 minutes. So, any questions?
What were the 6 functions? I've got move to storyboard, sets mood for scene, provides information, involve or interest the reader, develop a character. There's a 6th one somewhere and I don't have it written down.
Oh, well, hang on. It'll come back. It went away.
Conflict.
What?
Shows conflict.
Shows conflict. Okay, good. Thank you. Now you can shut it back up.
I put that as part of the character development. Okay.
Well,
but it's not necessarily.
It can be. Yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff just merges together, and there are more. I've come across more as I've gone on, but I haven't added them yet because I think we have enough to get started. You start adding, and then they sort of become sub things. And I just like to keep it simple. So, any questions besides what was the last one? Okay, questions, concerns?
I do have something that kind of might help people if you're stuck. Do a stream of consciousness. Just start writing gibberish and just start writing and it'll go somewhere.
And it does. It comes to you.
And you can build, like I wrote something, I was like, wow, okay, whatever, I'll just put this aside. And then I was like, I'm working on my own project. And then I was like, oh, I can put that right there. Just change the names around.
The other thing I do is if I'm writing and can't think of a word, I put in XXX and keep on going. Do not stop and say, what do I want? What? Put in XXX. You can do a search and find and replace it later. And that's just, that keeps you from stopping the flow. And you don't want to stop the flow. If the muse is there and it's getting, now you have to practice getting there. It doesn't come easily. You have to write to get to be a writer. And I don't care, it's hard. When I'm teaching all day, well, I don't teach all day. I teach college level. I tell the other professors, you guys don't know what it means to teach at the high school level. You guys have it so easy. I have been through fire and hell. And this is a cakewalk. But I'm grading papers all day, and I'm line editing because I'm teaching writing. Sometimes I get to teach creative writing, which is more fun, but I'm teaching how to write that dreaded term paper. And how to write a sentence, and basically how to spell, and how to punctuate, and how to do grammar, and how to do everything. And by the time I get done, when I have kids hand me in 3 to 5 pages each per class, every time we meet, they have to hand double-spaced typed. I get those graded and handed back the next class period. If I can't do that, then they forget what they're doing. And so by the time I get home at night, I can't write one word. I'm exhausted. But I can do other things that have to do with writing. On the weekends, I can do research. I can make notes. I keep a notebook. I can make all kinds of notes. I think about it, and sometimes I actually sit down and write a page or two that I have to go plug in.
So
But in the
your best writing?
in the summer, in the middle of the night for some odd reason.
I wake up in the middle of the night. My best ideas are,
Oh, in the middle of the
I
night.
just wake up and
Write them down.
I have a notebook
Me too.
by the side of my bed.
Me too.
Like,
You have
I'll
to.
come up with one-liners. I'm like, oh, I've got to have somebody say that.
I came up with the title of a play one time. And by the time I thought of it in the middle of the night, and I said, I'll never forget that one. And woke up the next morning, never did remember it. I have no clue what it was. And it was, so I do now have notebooks and pens. But you can write, if you're ever out in the middle, in the mall or on a bus or a train or a plane, listen to people talk and pick up inflections, rhythm, dialogue, frustration, whatever you can, just be a little eavesdropper.
Do you ever use dictaphone? Do you ever
I used
dictate
to,
it?
yes, I used to.
But does it changes the writing when you dictate it as opposed to writing?
No, the problem was, it was a time problem. I'd have to sit there and type as I listened to it, and I'd have to back it up, and so it became a problem. It's easier for me to write it by hand or to type it. What?
The simplicity of your husband nightmares.
Oh, my husband nightmares. Yeah, she's talking about the other. She's talking about the other session we had. My husband asked me to quit talking into the tape recorder in the middle of the night because he was having hideous dreams. Because I was saying things like, I was saying things like the bloody sword went through the stomach and crunched as it hit a rib cage, and he's like, he allowed me all kinds of space. And I thought that was pretty good for an engineer who's like square. But it was funny. Yeah. So we complimented each other. He knew all the science and the math and the engineering crap, and I could do all the English. So, okay. Any more questions? I think we've had it. Any questions? I hope it helped you. Yes.
I think that it's helpful for writers to have like a fairy or a muse or a writing spirit that they consult when they're about to write. Do you have any kind of like?
I don't know, but when I really get into it, I end up. See, I build a world because I do historical, so I have to build that world. I have to do all kinds of research. I use archaeology and anthropology journals to find out what foods they ate, what colors they had, how they made their clothing, all that stuff. This one was probably the most difficult to research because it went back so far. I had to really use a lot of anthropology and archaeology journals here. Archaeology journals for this one to show me what the castle and the city looked like. She's from Palmyra. There's an entire book written by a Frenchman. Fortunately, I can read it. That's this huge and has a tremendous number of drawings in it from the 1700s, which is like 1,500 years after she existed, but it's in the desert and it didn't disintegrate very quickly. And so I had pictures of her castle, of the whole city laid out.
So your muse is the history.
Apparently. But when I really get into it, I get in that book, and if you jerk me out of it too suddenly, it's painful. It hurts. I can't explain it. It just hurts. And when I slowly come out of it on my own, when I finally am so exhausted I have to sleep, I just fall into bed and go to sleep. And then when I wake up, I go back and work to work again. It is. It's just you're not here. I call it I'm not here. I am not here. And if my kids call me and I say, huh? Who are you? They say, I'll call you back later when you're normal. And, well, actually, I turn the phones off. Okay, and I listen.
They can't get a hold of you. Mom's working on both.
Yeah, that's exactly what they think. They don't worry about me. It's so funny. Sometimes I don't contact my kids for 7 to 8 days, but they're used to it now. They're fine with it.
You don't want to screw them.
No. Mom gets real wicked. Okay, those of you who handed me stuff, stay for a minute if you can. The rest of you, I hope it was okay for you. Hope you learned it. Thank you. I'm always tickled to teach workshops because there are so many of us out there working with no one to even work with you. My website is on there, and on my website you can talk. I have Facebook now. It's on the website. The Facebook, you can click on it. The website, you can click on Facebook. So if you have a comment, I won't have access to the internet for a few more days, but I will answer you. Just remind me who you were. If you have any questions, just hit me somewhere. Either I gave you my website and my email address. So you can email me, you can hit the Facebook page, whatever. Okay? You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Elizabeth. Karen.
Yes.
And I feel really bad about not having the other one with me. I do. Whose is this? This is yours. This is yours.
Yeah, all the red marks.
Well, no, the red marks aren't bad red marks. Some of them are good red marks. If you want to share, I missed you.
It's okay because I'm giving you mine early in the day.
I know, but I don't know where it is, and it ended up in the hotel room. I didn't.
That little piece of paper.
I know it was a little piece of paper, but that's why I think it's on the desk. I know, that's okay. But hang on, maybe what we can do here, since you guys were here yesterday, tell me what yours, read just 2 or 3 lines of yours.
Okay.
And then tell me do you mind going into an extra session?
No,
like just a little,
Do
you have another one? Well, you can leave if you need to.
Well, it doesn't start until...
Yeah, we got...
Okay, we're going to wrap this up quickly.
Okay.
Read yours very quickly for just a few lines for them.
She saw him sitting cross-legged on the ground in a trellised garden encased in green hedges. The path ended at an ivied wall, and he sat at the base of the wall as if the path sprang forth from him, as if all the green splendor that was Shakespeare's garden emanated from that cross-legged, denim-clad Buddha.
Okay, now read what I wrote at the top.
Well, you said, nice start, it gets our interest, the reader wonders who, what, why, etc.
Okay, now here's what I
And
marked.
I moved that already in the reading, so...
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay, what I did was...
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. She had it out of order. When you're writing a scene, you have to keep things in order. And who did I write 1, 2, and 3 on? Up at somewhere. Did I write 1, 2, 3 on yours, or 1 and 2 on yours?
No.
Oh, I did it
Maybe
on some.
it was mine.
Maybe it was yours.
Wait, I do have that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, start yours. Now I didn't. I
do tend to...
reverse.
Yeah.
You know what? I go back and change mine sometimes.
Okay, read that part that read it as you have it written, and then read it as I want you to have it written.
Okay. She opened her, there's no word there. She opened her eyes instinctively, she opened her instinctively closed eyes to see his yellow orbs pierce through the fog of his breath.
Okay. What did I have number 1 above?
Instinctively. She instinctively opened her eyes to see her yellow orbs pierce. Yeah.
Okay. You have to keep it in order. She can't see him before she opens her eyes. I'm not sure that was the problem. But I have number 1 and number 2 there.
Yeah.
And what do I have? Where's the number 1? What's it above? Above, what's the whole phrase?
Instinctively closed.
Okay, she instinctively closed, and then what's the number 2 thing?
Oh, she opened her eyes.
Okay, so you can't close them before you open them? Was that my problem?
I kind kind of didn't write that properly. It's like
Okay.
when she turned around, she kept her eyes closed because she didn't want to see.
Okay, so just remember, you're doing things in order. Actions have to go in order.
Yeah, I
Okay? Just remember that. Okay, but this is first draft. You don't worry about this first draft. This is second or third draft. Go up there somewhere where I marked something that I thought was good.
yeah. A low growl evaporated into the darkness behind her. She forgot her efforts in front of her, and her frantic heart stilled as did her breath.
Nice, nice passage. Nice, nice passage. Okay. Now, what do you want to what do you want to share with us? Do I have anything marked?
You did have a part that said, you mean marked, like change it?
Yeah. Or marked like good.
This is, yeah, both.
Okay.
I'll just read the first paragraph.
Okay.
The water flowed past Sarah's feet, cooling her soles and carrying the stress of the day downstream. She breathed deeply, stretching her toes out over the rocks. They felt smooth beneath her feet, and she rolled her heels back and forth over them in a massaging motion.
Remember the touch? She's got touch. She has all kinds of, like, real sensual. That whole part is like, ooh, yeah, I could just feel my feet on a nice, pebbly smooth.
Especially right now with the water.
Yesterday, at the end of the day, I was like, what? Oh, I want to put my feet in the water. Let's write about
I was
that.
sitting next to you when you were writing that too.
Okay, and what's down below? Is there anything I want you to change, or what?
This part you said was, this is telling and not needed, foreshadowing not needed. She hadn't expected the day to turn out as it had. It had started normally enough, with her rising with the sun to greet the day. It hadn't taken long for it to turn to chaos.
Okay, what you're doing there is you're telling us, and you're kind of foreshadowing, but you don't need to. If you want that part in, then you need to make it an action scene where she crawls out of bed and then gets to the creek. Okay? Or maybe you don't want it at all. And don't be afraid to cut. It's not, you're not cutting life's blood away, even though you think you are.
Is that almost someplace you can almost put a dialogue too if her talking
A what?
to someone? Where you can put a dialogue if her talking to someone?
Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe not. Now she's doing fantasy. Fantasy has a few different rules.
Thank you for joining us for Day 2 of Haley Elizabeth Garwood's The 14 Commandments of Writing. This has been a Spiraling Up production.